My name is Julia Rady and I'm the chair of the Toronto Preservation Board. The clerk has confirmed that we have quorum, so I will now call meeting 36 of the Toronto Preservation Board to order. Welcome everyone. This is a hybrid meeting with some members, staff, and public attending in person and others connecting by video conference over the WebEx platform or calling in. This meeting is also being live streamed online at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. Because we are meeting in person and remotely, we ask for your patience with any delays and technical issues. If you are registered to speak at today's meeting, please listen for me to call your name. I will call speakers in the order they appear on the list. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting the Toronto Preservation Board at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. I would like to request that staff and invited participants, as well as any observers joining remotely, keep their videos turned off unless they need to speak or answer questions, and this will make it easier for me as chair to see the members as we debate and vote on the agenda items. I also ask that members keep their microphones muted unless you wish to question staff or speak to an item. To ensure we have an efficient meeting with the board members having equal opportunity to ask questions or speak on an item, I will run the clock timer for 5 minutes. Members will have up to 5 minutes each to ask questions of staff and speak on an item. As a reminder, motions need to be moved at the beginning of a member's speaking time. Please submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at hertpb@toronto.ca to help with motions. If members wish to speak on an item, please make sure your video is on and raise your hand or unmute your mic and indicate your intention to speak, and I will create a speakers list. When voting on an item or a motion, I ask members to turn on your video and raise your hand to indicate your vote. If there is a recorded vote, you will be asked to state if you are in favor or opposed. Members, the City Clerk has provided all agenda materials on toronto.ca/council. Although we may be meeting today in different locations, the Preservation Board would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? If you do have an interest, please let me know. Raise your hand, unmute your mic, and indicate the item number and the nature of your interest. Are there any?
Yes, item PB 36.1. The firm I work for is engaged as a heritage consultant.
Thank you very much. Could I please have a motion to confirm the minutes from our meeting on September 22nd, 2025? Paul, thank you very much. All those in favor? And the motion carries. So now we will do our agenda review. PB 36.1, 5466 and 68 Fraser Avenue, notice of intention to designate a property under Part 4, Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act. We don't have a presentation, however, planning staff are available to answer questions from the board. Does anybody want to hold this item? Seeing none, Mitchell, please go away for a few moments. It's not that we don't like you. Would anybody like to move the recommendations in the staff report on agenda item PB 36.1? I'll move. All those in favor? It is a recorded vote, so just hold up your hands and I will read your names. Thank you, Tanya. Jeff, Karash, Paul, Alex, Matthew, Peter, Julia. Motion carries. And can somebody go and welcome Mitchell back to the room, please? Thank you. Our next item is PB 36.2, 150 College Street, the Medical Sciences Building at 1 King's College Circle. Notice of intention to designate a property under Part 4, Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act. There is no presentation for this item. However, Heritage Planning staff are available to answer questions of the board. Would anybody like to hold this item? Seeing none, I have a staff report with recommendations. Would anybody like to move the recommendations in the report? Jeff, thank you very much. All those in favor? And the motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving on now to PB 36.3, 6 to 8 and 10 to 12 Sumach Street, notice of intention to designate a property under Part 4, Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act. We have public speakers registered on this item. Do they have a presentation or are they here to answer questions? They're not online, so I will hold this item. The next, oh, hi, Michael. Are you here to answer questions or do you have a presentation? No, no problem. I will hold the item then. On PB 36.4 is our next item, 164 and 166 Isabella Street, notice of intention to designate a property under Part 4, Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act. We have public speakers registered on this item. We have Mr. Gaddis from GBCA. Is he online? Are you here to answer questions or do you have a presentation?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I don't have a presentation, but I'll be speaking a little bit, hopefully under 5 minutes. Yes.
I am sure it will be under 5 minutes, and no problem, I will hold the item. And then finally, we have PB 36.5, 36 Prince Arthur Avenue, alterations to a designated heritage property under Section 42 of the Ontario Heritage Act, approval. We have a public speaker on this item, and I'd ask if Ms. Shipman, do you have a presentation, or are you here for questions? All right. So, because they're here for questions, does anybody care, does any of my fellow members care to hold this item? Jeff, perfect. Moving on back to PB 36.3, and we welcome to the floor Liz. Oh, no. Oh, we'll introduce the item, we'll put the slide up, and then we'll have our public speaker.
That's correct.
Yeah. We have a single slide, right? Yeah. Perfect. That's it. I'll get used to the system, my friends. All right. And now we have our public speaker, Mr. McClelland. Welcome, good morning. You have 5 minutes. Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and committee. I'm here very briefly to sort of in support of the designation. I'm representing the owner of the property. They've been working quite this project's gone on forever and ever, frankly, but they've been working carefully with the city staff. The only concern they have, and they want to bring up this concern now when the designation goes forward, is there's a reference to an attribute being the rear wings of the building. And the discussions we've been having with the city is a development which would remove those rear wings. So we just want to make sure that there's no, in approving and supporting this designation, we want to make sure that when we come forward shortly with an application to remove those rear wings, that doesn't become a complex matter. I know a lot of designations include pieces that are for record purposes, simply say this has some interest, some value, but these rear wings are not visible from the street, arguably not really attributes, but they have been designed, they've been designated as such by the city. And so I would like at this meeting to record our concern about retention of those rear wings as attributes in the designation. That's my 1 minute and 15 seconds.
Well done. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for our speaker? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Moving on now to questions of staff. Jeff?
Seems to me that the issue that Mark McClellan has raised should be addressed to staff now.
Agreed. So, can staff speak to the rear wings of the building?
Good morning to the chair and to the board. The matter was just brought to us at after 5 o'clock last night. I just want to acknowledge Michael I think you're called a designated hitter if this is October, because Samantha Irwin, from the principal of the firm, and her team, we've been in dialogue on the statement of significance for back and forth for several months. So it has been reviewed by ERA, and this matter hadn't been raised at that time. That said, that we are very careful in considering tails or and versus the primary structure. I would just say that I think this is new and relevant information for us. At this point, our advice is to the board that the tail is part of the scale form and massing. But as anything with new information, I would just say that we have the opportunity. I think Samantha returns from a trip abroad next week, and we can endeavor to just follow up with them with any new and relevant information that they feel is something that was missed. But our advice at this point is that the attribute is as stand in the report. I see there's a bit of a, we don't have the slides in front of us, but Liz, I don't know if you have the actual page reference to the views from the rear. This is where one of these situations in that it is actually visible from the street, being Cherry Street, for anyone who knows this odd location. Otherwise, for us at times, we are looking at these modest tails that are not visible from the street, but the context here is as such that it is visible from Cherry Street. Thank you.
Jeff?
Procedurally, would you, if there was a change required to the designation attributes, would that come to PHC or to council and as an amendment, or how would that be handled?
I can't really speak to that process at this moment. I think what the board has in front of it at this time is what you can consider. But obviously, if there's any amendment or change, we would identify that in advance of a report to Planning and Housing. Right,
which is the 23rd, yeah?
No, this matter hasn't been brought to an agenda at this moment. So we've already had that brought to our attention last week. We accommodated to allow for the principal of the firm who's out of the country to work with their schedule.
Okay, thank you.
Are there other questions of staff? Seeing none, is there discussion amongst ourselves? Seeing none, I have a staff report with recommendations before us. Would anybody like to move the recommendations in the report? Karash, thank you very much. All those in favor? Marvelous, and the motion carries. Moving on to PB 36.4, and we'll bring up just sort of our slide. Fantastic. And then we'll have our public speaker, Maud Gattas from GBCA Architects. Welcome. You've got 5 minutes when you're ready to go.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thanks everyone on the board for having me today. I usually speak on behalf of applications, but this time I'm going to speak on the designation. We're here on behalf of the applicant, and I know this morning the lawyer at Erdon Berlis filed also a letter, so I'm not sure if the board members had a chance to read through, but we're here today simply to not object to the designation, but to ask for deferral. We're not objecting at all because we do find that the property merits a designation under the Ontario Heritage Act. But the reason for the deferral is because we have not had enough time to review the staff report, the attributes, and the research that was prepared. We stumbled upon the staff report early this week after the long weekend, so we didn't not have a lot of chance to review the attributes. But given this is also an active application file, our application to for a zoning bylaw amendment and site plan approval was deemed, only zoning bylaw amendment was deemed complete in early October. But we've had before that time fruitful conversations with city staff, including Heritage, on 3 occasions starting in early 2024. So we are continuing this dialogue with city staff. So while we're not surprised to see a designation come forward, we did not receive any notices until we have stumbled upon that agenda very recently this week. So, but no notices was given to us by email to either ourselves as an interested party or the applicant for that matter. So while, again, just to repeat, we're not objecting to the designation, but we would like to have more time to review some of the attributes, and particularly some of the attributes that may potentially have some conflict with the application, such as the setbacks. One of the attributes is the consistent setbacks between all properties along Isabella Street that anchor the corner. We are proposing to move 2 of the 2 buildings on the site closer to the lot line, which will be in some way in conflict with that attribute. So because we haven't had a lot of conversation with staff after the matter of the application was deemed complete, this is why we're asking for a deferral, because we want to make sure that we have sufficient dialogue and conversations with city staff on that matter. Seeing the application of the intention to designate come forward without much conversation with our office seems like it's final, and we don't know how that may pertain later on. So we just want to have chance we have that opportunity. And finally, we do also understand our statutory limits as to when we can designate a property under the Act after a prescribed event, such as our complete application was filed early this month. But we have had opportunities where the applicant has signed a waiver agreeing to extend the statutory reporting, an opportunity that we have not had this time, and we would be open to signing that so that we can permit the city to be able to extend that statutory requirement for designation, so that we can have proper conversations and arrive mutually at the same interest for both a successful application and a designation under the Act. And on that matter, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm hoping to have any questions asked, and thank you for your time again.
Thank you very much. Do we have questions of our speaker? I'm just waiting for my fellow members to come up on my screen. Having a moment of technical difficulties. I can't see There we go. Do we have questions for our speaker? Seeing none, thank you very, very much for joining us today. Do we have questions for staff? Jeff, and then Alex.
Yes, the concern around time frame was in my mind as well, and the deputant has, I think, provided a resolution there in terms of getting around the province's imposed deadlines around significant, whatever it's called, significant event or something. So my question to staff is, what is your response to this in terms of the deadlines issue? Is there time before it? We don't want to get into. We don't want to lose the game by failing to meet the deadlines.
Again, through the chair, there's a few things that were referenced. Specifically, I think that it all stemming to timing as it relates to a development application. I would just remind the board that that this report just goes to the Preservation Board and doesn't go anywhere further. So you can consider this matter. The designations are initiated as a chief planner's report to planning and housing, which is consistent with this. So with respect to longer extension as it relates to a prescribed event, administratively, the Act does allow for the applicant or the owner, it's the owner, to waive that. And of course, that is also a possibility, but I would say that whatever the timing is that specifically at this moment, there's nothing, I would encourage you to review this report as it is before you right now.
Alex, you have a question.
Yes, my question was regarding the heritage attributes and how they relate to the front of the buildings, basically the bottom floor, which had been the original building, I believe, had a porch across the Isabella frontage. And what replaced it was rather, in my opinion, hideous enclosures. Now, presumably the enclosures would not be listed as heritage attributes, and they aren't, but I'm a little concerned that about what happens when the building is somewhat restored. Would a porch be put on? And what is in, it's a bit like the problem, I think, with the Davisville store at the northeast corner of Davisville and Yonge, where the building itself is a heritage building, but it has since had a hideous white tile addition on the corner. And how do you deal with the fact that I think the heritage attributes, in this case, should be the hidden wall and the non-existent front porch at this point? How do you sort of protect the from the situation where the applicant says that, well, there's no heritage attribute specified, I can put plate glass windows across the front at the ground level? Is this a problem, a potential problem, or am I getting frightened for nothing?
May I offer potentially an answer?
I'm not at the moment. We're past that we're asking, but thank you very much.
Again, through the chair, I have to say, Alex, that it's difficult for me to comment on something that's related to the development application in principle. It's what is before you is the designation. I can just see if the manager for development review is available and could answer that question, but I myself am not in the position to answer it.
Do we have other questions of staff? Mary, would you like to weigh in? Good morning.
Good morning. Apologies for being virtual this morning, and thank you for the accommodation. Through the chair, Tamara's quite right. We can't comment on the specifics of any application, but in general, Alex, I think it's fair to say that we certainly can't identify anything as an attribute that is no longer there. But there is always the possibility for someone to, as often happens in developments, to pay special attention to the restoration of the heritage property within the development. And so that is always a possibility to restore a lost feature if there's documentation to support that. And also any alteration of any heritage property is viewed against the attributes of the original building and the understanding of the original building. And so we wouldn't think that your example, would not be a compatible alteration. So if you're concerned that the designation opens the door to something, it doesn't, to the extent that you want to know that, because there's always a possibility to consider alterations for all the properties. Thanks.
Thank you.
Other questions of staff? Seeing none, is there discussion amongst ourselves? Seeing none, I have a staff report with recommendations before us. Would anybody like to move the recommendations in the report? Jeff, thank you very much. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving on now to our final item, PB 36.5. And we have Colin.
Hello. Okay. Oh, sorry. Hello, my name is Colin Pang, and I'm a heritage planner with the city. And I'm presenting agenda item PB 36.5 of 36 Prince Arthur Avenue, alterations to a designated heritage property under Section 42 of the OHA. This report recommends City Council approve the proposed alterations to the existing heritage building located at 36 Prince Arthur Avenue. Next slide. 36 Prince Arthur Avenue is located on the north side of Prince Arthur between Bedford and Avenue Road, which is located within the boundaries of the East Annex Heritage Conservation District. Next slide. The site contains a 2.5-story brick and stone form building constructed circa 1891. The slides show different elevations of the building on the south primary elevation, the east elevation, and the west elevations. Next slide. The development proposal includes the removal of the 2-story rear addition and the retention of the main body of the existing 2.5-story brick and stone building in order to facilitate the construction of a new 5-story addition at the rear. The rear addition is to be removed and is shown highlighted in red on the left image, while the image on the right shows the new proposed 5-story addition on the site plan. The existing rear addition is not original, and it was built in the 1970s. The building will be used for commercial and residential purposes. 36 Prince Arthur Avenue was assigned a B rating within the East Annex HCD plan, meaning that properties which are noteworthy for their overall quality and have citywide importance. The East Annex HCD guidelines state that additions to heritage buildings within the district should generally be located at the rear and should be lower than the height of the roof ridge of the existing heritage building. Clay brick should be used as the predominant exterior material on publicly visible facades. Within the Prince Arthur Avenue analysis section of the district plan, further consideration for rear yard additions is provided as follows. Substantial development in the rear yards is evident on Prince Arthur and is indicative of the present commercial uses. Rear yard additions should not overpower the existing buildings and preferably have low visibility from the street. The East Annex HC plan encourages the restoration of original architectural elements and says that neighboring buildings should be used as the guide when considering the scale, proportion, and level of detail for additions to heritage buildings. Permissions required under Section 42 of the Act to make alterations to a property within the HCD, provided it meets the guidelines contained within. Next slide. The proposed massing for the new rear addition is a simple cube form designed in a contemporary style to be distinguishable from the architectural style of the existing heritage building. The new addition is 5 stories. In height, it will be 2 stories higher than the existing 2.5-story heritage building, and it will therefore be visible from the street. Therefore, it does not comply with the guidelines within the EAHCD plan, which state again that it should be lower than the height of the roof ridge of the existing building. The proposed addition would be visible from the street. However, it is set back over 14 meters from the front of the heritage building and over 16 meters from the street. The heritage building will therefore remain visibly prominent within the public realm, and the new addition is not considered to overpower the existing building. The proposed building material shows glazing for the upper stories and brick material, and brick and metal for the base at the ground floor level. The HIA says that the new rear addition would use compatible materials and colors, but details of these have not been included. They will be required as part of the conservation plan submission. The HIA also indicates that the proposed conservation and alterations to the heritage building will consist of the following. On the south primary elevation, restoration of the brick belt course, oval window, and half window on the front elevation based on historic documentation. On the east elevation, 4 new window openings and two new dormer windows, infilling a non-original door opening and an original window, removing the elevator overrun and replacing it with a rear central dormer to connect the roof of the Heritage Building with the new rear addition. Next slide. On the west elevation, widening the existing side entrance to comply with minimum distance code requirements of the building code. The widened entrance would include stairs and a contemporary vestibule. Reinstatement of the chimney on the west side elevation based on historic documentation. A new canopy to replace the existing side entrance. Replace the existing over the side entrance on the same elevation. Next slide. Heritage Planning are supportive of the proposed new construction and alterations to the heritage property at 36 Prince Arthur under Section 42 of the OHA to intensify the site by retaining the existing 2.5-story detached brick building and constructing a new 5-story rear addition. The footprint of the new addition will be entirely behind the existing heritage building and will have a similar width to the retained building, but will add an east and west side wing where it will step out with curved corners. The new addition would have a contemporary form which raises 2 stories higher than the existing roof ridge and clad in compatible materials, which would be later confirmed as part of the required conservation plan. Therefore, it's consistent with the guidelines of the East Annex HCD plan and other applicable policies and guidelines. It's therefore recommended that the TBB and Council approve the application under Section 42 of the OHA. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. We have Clara Shipman from ERA Architects. Do we have any questions for our speaker? Do you have any remarks that you would like to offer? Perfect. Then we'll invite you to. Just making sure your microphone's on?
Can you hear me? Yes.
Perfect.
That's better. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Clara Shipman, and I'm a senior project manager at ERA Architects. We are the heritage consultants on the file, and we've been working on the project for a few years now. We want to thank Colin for his presentation, and we want to thank staff for all of their hard work on this project. We see it as a really great collaboration with the city. There's been a number of engagements. And we're also pleased to see the support of the ERA for the project. It's an unusual project in part because the clients are from the neighborhood. They live in the neighborhood, and their intention is actually to make this their business office. And so we're excited about the project and the revitalization of the building. And I think that's about it for me. Thank you for your time, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for our speaker? Seeing none, thank you again. Moving on to questions of staff. Are there questions for staff? Seeing none, thank you very much, Colin. Is there discussion amongst ourselves? Seeing none, I have a staff report with recommendations before us. Would anybody like to move the recommendations in that report? Paul, thank you very much. All those in favor? Motion carries. That concludes our business for the day. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you ever so much and have a lovely October. Yes, wow, Alex. All right, have a great day, everybody.